former pastor who is right now facing like 10 years prison for preaching to the truckers that were standing up against Twinkle Toes Trudeau up there, the prime minister of the he wants to be the new Marxist Cuban leader of Canada. And he hates this guy that I'm interviewing because this guy, they tried to buy him off. They tried to give him a position in government. He will not stop talking. That's what I love about my guest right now, Artur Pawlowski. Now, I'm not going to stop talking either about one thing. We're watching the American political system shake. We're going to watch the American economic system shake. Everything that can be shaken will be shaken. But I'll tell you what will not be shaken. And the prophet Haggai said it. When everything shakes, God said the silver is mine and the gold is mine. And God is going to fund his own kingdom enterprises. So I want you to go to lancewallnut.com/Birch and find out how you can position yourself in silver, in gold with your IRA and prepare yourself for the shaking that's coming. And even if you say, well, I don't have any money, Lance, knowledge is wealth. Read the 21-page free download. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Don't let it be said of you that you didn't even prepare yourself, because God can get into your hands whatever you need to get the job done in your life. Go to lancewallnut.com/Birch and invest in the knowledge you need. And let's get into this bold reformers message right now. Welcome to the Lance Wallnut Show. You know, this show is always dealing with something interesting. We recently, of course, have been covering the bizarre development in North America of communist-type, Marxist-type government behavior, intimidating citizens, locking them up, threatening them with jail time or imprisonment, using lawfare to destroy them, financially drain them. I'm talking about what Biden's doing with Donald Trump and what Trudeau is doing with clergy. I mean, what's happening in Canada is the canary in the coal mine for the United States. I remember during the COVID period, I was watching Steve Bannon. I think we played this also in Flashpoint, where there was this bold Canadian pastor who was kicking out these grundoons that were being sent in by the Canadian government to go shut down churches. Shut them down because, you know, they're going to declare martial law, and these are spreading centers, which we found out was garbage. And so this one bold pastor was like, get out of here, cast them out, cast them out. He kicked them out of his church. They were interrupting his church. He stood for his ground as though he was an American. For the freedom to preach the gospel. And they didn't have the right to shut him down. Well, for that, they punished him. Eventually, they ended up forcing him to spend 50 nights in 2 separate prisons, abused and humiliated. And yet, like a true man of God, somehow he found favor with the inmates and actually ministered to them. But that's enough trauma. Now Trudeau wants to take him and put him on trial and have him face 10 years in prison. For what? Because he stood by the side of the road, ministered to the bold truckers who were simply trying to protest the tyranny of this Marxist regime, doing it peacefully, and they had their accounts frozen, they had their businesses destroyed, they had the United States, America, putting pressure on them, take care of this thing, Biden's telling Trudeau. Trudeau cracks down, police come in, and not a peep coming from anywhere in the world. This is what concerns me. Well, I got Pastor Artur on. I just saw his son. Excuse me. I saw his son spoke in Europe to the parliament and referred to, his father's plight. And, when he refers to, you're going to find out if you get a chance to watch the video. His son refers to Solidarity. Solidarity was the movement with Lech Walesa in Poland, in the shipyards, that worked with the Catholic Church and with the underground church to break communism out of Poland. It's celebrated as a movement. It was political. It was a strike. It was spiritual. It was aligned with the church. It's probably the formula for what we're going to end up with having to do in the United States. And it's worth studying. I put it literally into my book, God's Chaos President, the last book I wrote, saying, look at what happened in Poland. It's a model. Well, for daring to reference solidarity. And so you've got to stand together, as we did in Poland, against the tyranny of Marxism. That was what they call mischief, and it's going to subject them to potentially years of imprisonment, but not without a loud fight, because that ain't going to go down quietly. Pastor Pawlowski, can we get him on? There you are, my friend. Did I misrepresent anything there? Help! I'm trying to catch up with the story, but is that pretty much? Have I been faithful in giving the story?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I have been charged during this big lie over 40 times. I have been arrested multiple times. And of course, when I kicked them out of our church, when they were breaking Criminal Code of Canada, Section 176, 1, 2, and 3, they came with a vengeance. And that political vengeance is hunting me down to this day. I spent 50 days in isolation, solitary confinement. I was transferred, kidnapped by sheriffs from one city, transferred to another, put in max spot for the most dangerous terrorists in a country. And then ultimately, without the evaluation of the doctors, without the knowledge of Alberta Health Services, I was put in psych ward, just like the Soviets were doing when I was growing up, just like no North Koreans are doing and Chinese. So it's a total crazy insanity. During the trial, Crown prosecutor accused me of causing Canadian economy over $400 million worth of damages. Why? Because I dared to give the truckers and farmers hope. I said 3 times during my 19-minute sermon, stay peacefully, no guns, no swords, do it solidarity style. Just go and paralyze their system by simply refusing to cooperate, refusing to work with them. The Crown prosecutor during the trial, which had no witnesses, the entire evidence was my sermon, word by word. My sermon was on trial in the first time in the history of Canada. He compared my sermon, which you can listen to on YouTube to this day, to Rwanda genocide. He said that my words was like someone inciting murder on other people. So ultimately, a month later, I was found guilty. I'm the first Canadian ever to be found guilty on inciting mischief, which we don't even know what that means, thought crime. Also, I am the first one to be charged and now convicted of eco-terrorism, interfering with the crucial infrastructure under the Defense Act. I mean, the sky is the limit. Those people are not stopping, and they are biting like crazy. This morning, I learned that my sentencing that was supposed to be happening on August the 9th has been pushed again for September 18th. So they're toying with us. They're playing with me. I am on house arrest since I was released from prison. To this day, 16 months later, a pastor that feeds thousands of people. I run multiple churches. I am on house arrest. Why? Because I dared to give people hope in a time where the government betrayed them.
So so now they're pushing up to September 18th. Well, the good news there is we'll have to get you on Flashpoint, get you on some more broadcasts. You may be under house arrest, but you can still broadcast. We need to build pressure on this, because the only thing Trudeau and these guys care about is PR. And so tell me, how can we help you, Pastor? What can be done other than getting your story out like this?
Well, here is a very interesting thing that I have been observing between American politicians and the Canadian politicians. Canadian politicians are literally terrified of the American politicians. Whatever your senator or congressman or governor says, well, it's a nationwide news here in Canada. So political pressure does work. They are like cockroaches spreading the diseases left and right. And when you bring a light on what they're doing in darkness, they panic. They don't know how to react to that. So that's one. Telling the story, I see here is a very interesting thing. When I was released from prison, Canadian government came with offers. They offered me lots of money. They offered me a guaranteed position within the government in the next election. They offered me a well-paid job if I would only stop exposing corruption within the land. Now, they did that for 8 months. The past 2 months is coercion and blackmail. I was told I have to give them $150,000. I have to withdraw myself from politics, and I must stop exposing corruption. And if I don't do that, they said they own the judge, and the judge was ordered to lock me in prison. They said they're eliminating me from the board game. So I decided to do Lan's opposite. I'm a lion. I'm nobody's slave. I am a Christian. I'm a pastor. I know who my God is, and I do not bow before the hyenas. Lions do not bow before the hyenas. I'm not making deals with the evil. I am opposing and exposing evil. So I think that the best way to tackle this craziness is do it David's style. When David saw the giant to him was just an obstacle. On the other side of that mountain of a man was David's destiny, and he knew that. So he needed to tackle that giant head-on collision. He was not intimidated. He was not hiding. He went over there and he looked into the enemy's eyes and says, "Who do you think you are, you uncircumcised Philistines, that you should defy the armies of the living God?" And boom, he strikes the enemy. That's how I have chosen to fight. I'm exposing them. I'm talking about it. And so politics, exposure, and support, those are the three things that we can do. And I believe that if we gain enough support in the United States and in other countries as well, I think they will back down. Because when I was 50 days in prison, they hated me on the inside more than they hated me on the outside. I know that Americans, Cindy and others, were talking about what is happening to me in prison, and I was doing shows from prison. I was during my telephone conversations, they were recorded, and I think they realized that me being there, they're turning me into a martyr, and they hated that idea, and eventually I got released. If we can master the same political pressure on those evil, wicked people, then they will just let me live my life.
That's interesting. I only got 1 minute left in this segment, but I want to tee something up. When we come back, I want to talk about the corruption you have been exposing, because evidently there's something there that you're putting your finger on. I'm curious about what it is they want you to stop talking about. And I'm interested also in your son's speech. Who was he speaking to? Where was he speaking? And do you think that will generate some of that political capital that will come from Europe, that is going to put a spotlight on civil liberties and freedom of speech in Canada, which Canada can't lecture the world about what they do if Canada is suppressing and violating its own religious liberties. Once again, we're talking with Pastor Artur Pawlowski. He is heading to a verdict regarding imprisonment. He's already been locked up 50 days. He is a modern-day reformer, a modern-day Tyndale, and we're going to be back with him in a moment with more on the Lance Wallnau Show. Hey, let's take a moment right here and talk about something. You know, these programs are actually paid for by sponsors, and so the one thing that I always do is try to pick the sponsors that have the greatest value. Those are the ones that I myself believe in. Now, the Birch Gold Group is one of those key sponsors, and I'll tell you why. The economy is the area that I'm the most concerned about in terms of instability in the future. Do you know that right now, China and Russia and India is meeting with Saudi Arabians and South Africans to create an alternative economy, to basically crush the dollar? This is going to have a massive effect on the stock market, on real estate. It'll be a real shaking. But you don't have to be shaken, because there's a way you can protect your retirement, your 401ks, your IRAs, by connecting them in with gold. Gold is unique in history in that it's a place of stored value. In fact, those BRICS nations of Brazil and Russia, India and China, they're going to be backing themselves with, guess what? Gold. So be smart. I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get a free information kit. Get knowledge. Act quickly. Don't wait. And they're going to be able to help you make a great decision on what to do. Remember, that information is free with no strings attached. Do it now. lancewallnau.com/Birch. Back again with Lance Wallnau and Pastor Artur Pawlowski, who is right now a kind of one of the first, I would say, of the political martyr types that is warning North America. He's told me, he said, Lance, I'm the canary in the coal mine for you preachers in America. Don't think this virus isn't heading to you. Canada was too weak to fight it off. You're going to see the same thing coming to a theater near you. Even like our governor out there in California tried to lock up Cheon, a pastor friend of mine in Pasadena, and put him in prison. And and why was he going to be doing that? Because he was having church against his will. This is the man I think the Democrats are going to want to run, Gavin Newsom, as the presidential candidate, who would lock up pastors and fine church members $1,000 a day for every day they went to church. That's the kind of lunacy that exists in the Democrat Party that they celebrate as a model for who they want running America. You got a knucklehead up there. I'm sorry, I shouldn't make your problem worse, but I'm an American. Trudeau is a problem. He's as bad as Newsom, and he's as narcissistic, too, if you listen to Jordan Peterson. Pastor, could you tell me, where's the corruption up there? What have you been blowing the whistle on?
Well, of course, I have been talking about homelessness. I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar business in the province of Alberta alone. I was simply asking a question, where is the money? During the COVID lie, I have been talking about infringements on our rights. As you know, I grew up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of the Soviets. I've seen this movie before. And what I'm saying is we must change the script, and we must punish those people that are doing this to us and have done this to us in the past few years. Also, I'm warning people about the 15-minute cities that are being implemented in Canada as we speak right now. Also, I'm talking about the net zero. Canadians are being penalized, punished for the world's problems. We are being taxed to death if it comes to carbon emission. We already pay over 50% in taxes. 25% of Canadians are losing their properties as we speak right now. There is a great disaster in the making by the government. Of course, bureaucracy. In the province of Alberta, we have 4.5 million citizens. Half of them are working, and then 450,000 bureaucrats sucking the blood out of the rest of us. We're talking about a healthcare system that next year a normal family will have to pay $50,000 a year just to have an access to a healthcare system. This is craziness at the highest levels. I'm talking about bribery. $1 billion disappeared from the coffers of Alberta government. No one knows where the money went. So I'm simply asking, I'm educating people, telling them, hey, we have a huge problem. It's called corruption at the highest levels. We have no accountability. We have no checks and balances. We've lost the mainstream media. It's just propaganda. We don't have educational system. It's indoctrination. We don't have healthcare system. We have the weaponized healthcare system. If you're not vaccinated, that's it. You can die. No one cares. So I'm talking about that. Of course, I'm a pastor. I run 2 churches. I do lots of interviews and shows, and that's the target. They don't want me to talk about what those people are doing behind the closed doors. Everything this government has been doing in the past 3 years is illegal, against the Criminal Code of Canada and against our Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, that starts in a preamble that says, whereas Canada acknowledges the supremacy of God and the rule of law. When I was in your country touring around when we met, I had multitudes of Americans coming to me, and they said, oh, Pastor, this will never happen to us. We have a Declaration of Independence. We have Constitution amendments. And I said, you people are not paying attention. Poland was the second country on earth that had a constitution, and the Germans didn't care about our piece of paper. The Russians, the Soviets didn't care about our piece of paper. You see, Americans, you must care about your piece of paper. You must care about the future of your children. You must care about what is happening to you by those so-called representatives. Watch, pay attention, stand up, rise up. If you don't want to do it for yourself, you must do it for your children. You have to prepare, protect, and keep what rightfully belongs to you. The founding fathers and majority of those that signed the Declaration of the Independence were martyred, died for your freedom. Now it's your turn. You must rise up and fight, because if you don't do it, your children will have what I had, which is a hell on earth, growing up under the boots of the wannabe pharaohs of today.
When you talk about growing up, I realize something for my audience. You're listening to the passion of a man of God who has experienced what the suppression of communism is like, and came out of it to get to Canada, where he thought there was freedom in order to be able to minister. And the reason why I'm hearing so much energy is because he's able to speak as someone who's watching the same disease now try to take him out that he tried to get away from. It's like my buddy Cheon, whose father escaped North Korean prison camp to come to the United States, and then his son has a similar spirit as North Korea, trying to lock him up during COVID. So, Pastor, tell us a little bit about your background and where you grew up, and what the parallels are, and what solidarity was there.
We are watching unfolding of the same movie in front of our very eyes. I mean, communism, dictatorship, totalitarian regime always starts the same way, by taking your rights one after another. And then when you finally wake up, it's done. It's over. It's show trials like mine. People are being arrested. I remember growing up when the police had this famous saying, give us a man and we'll find something on that man. The trials were show trials where a man was already convicted before even everything started. People were arrested for simply listening to a European radio. You could go to prison for a year for having a solidarity pamphlet. In 1980, finally, the Polish people said enough is enough, and they took it to the streets under the umbrella of solidarity. We are in solidarity with each other, and they paralyzed their system, not with violence, not with guns and swords, but simply by refusing to work for the wannabe tyrants. We're nobody's slaves. We are just like you. We have the same children. We have the same color of our blood, and we just want to live our lives in peace. And that was the idea of Canada. That was the whole idea of North America, the freedom, the dream, American dream, that a man can work hard and achieve something and be a free man, free to worship as he pleases. All of that is under attack because there is a competition between the government and God. The government doesn't want competition. The government wants to say something and it becomes the law, like the pharaohs of old. So growing up behind the Iron Curtain, Lance, is hell on earth. You could never be sure how your end is going to, how your day is going to end. There was constant lineups. There was chasing after necessities of life. You couldn't talk about certain things. You could be arrested at any moment. Torture. There was no checks and balances. There was no accountability. 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Polish people with the iron fist, until the 36 millions finally said, that's it, enough is enough. And I think that's the message, Lance, that the government in Canada fears the most. I think they are afraid what worked yesterday might work today. We don't have to reinvent the wheels. In 1989, the Iron Curtain was broken when the people finally said enough, and Berlin Wall toppled down, was destroyed, and Poland had its free and democratic election after the invasion of the Germans in 1939. I grew up in a city that had a concentration camp. We were playing in the bunkers of the SS. I heard the stories from my grandparents. I've seen the after effect of Nazism. And then, of course, I saw firsthand what the Soviets, what the communism and socialism did, not just to us, but everyone around us. It pillaged, it destroyed, it raped. It was a hell on earth, like I described. So we came to Greece, and from Greece we came to Canada for freedom. And look at me now, 340 citations later, 16 arrests, 120 court cases later. I had to remortgage my house 7 times. I had to sell my property. I had to give up everything to keep fighting those people so my children can have a better life than I had when I was growing up under the boots of the communists.
So, Artur, we're going to keep on this story, and we'll have to come back again because I also want to cover your son. I think it's beautiful when you got a son that's willing to go to bat for you and who recognizes that his dad's being persecuted. How can people get in touch with you? I want people to support you. You got legal bills and all kinds of stuff. How can people help you out?
Well, you can go to streetchurch.ca, street like a road, streetchurch.ca, and there are all kinds of ways that you can stay in touch with us and you can support us as well. And you're right, I had to just hire a lawyer for Nathaniel, my son, because they're not stopping with me. Now they're coming after my family. They have charged and arrested my son after he arrived from European tour when he spoke, testified before the European Parliament about what is happening to us here. Upon arrival, he was detained, interrogated, searched, and he found out that there is a warrant for his arrest now because of some bogus charges. So I had to hire a lawyer, and lawyers, as you know, are absolutely crazy expensive. So I'm very grateful for any support, any help that you can give us. streetchurch.ca, pray for us and support us and spread the word around and roar like never before.
Yeah.
Remember that we are lions following the lion from the tribe of Judah, Jesus Christ himself. And we know how the story ends. We win in the end. The enemy just doesn't know it yet.
Well, we got September 18th is the date. I suspect you're going to hear some congressional voices and a few senators giving a warning shot over the bow with concern over what's happening up there in Canada with their eye on the case. You're going to see that happen. And I think when they go after your children, it's almost a weird blessing in disguise, because you might be a figure that people go, well, Arthur's so outspoken. He's a firebrand. But when they go after your children, the way you're describing, outrage is going to be the result. Nobody wants their innocent children persecuted by the government. There'll be a backlash. Artur, I got to take a break now, but we will be back with you in the future. Folks, support him. I'm encouraging you to get in touch with him. These are the people that you're listening to, the voice of Patrick Henry there in the kingdom. And we got to stand with Pastor Artur Pawlowski. And I can't believe we're out of time now. Everybody needs to know this story. Like this, share this, get the word out. That's the voice of what's coming to America. We cannot let this happen on our watch. And I'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of the Lance Wallnau Show. God bless you.
Over the last 20 years, with all your support, we've been able to not only launch the original MyPillow, but also the MyPillow mattress topper, Giza Dream bed sheets, My Slippers, and the MyPillow bath towels. But there's so much more. In fact, we have over 200 products, and I'm so confident that you'll love each and every one of them that when you go to MyPillow.com now, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20 just for checking out the website. No purchase necessary. Get everything from MyPillow blankets, sleepwear, kitchen towels, mattresses, duvets, pet beds, body pillows, comforters, couch pillows, bathrobes, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And remember, just for checking out MyPillow.com, you'll immediately receive a free gift valued at $20. No purchase necessary. This is a limited time promotion, so go to MyPillow.com now.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are